Hey guys, I hope you all had a great day. Today we're talking about one of the most controversial debates in FPS communities, camping. It's a tactic that's constantly argued over by both critics and defenders, and it gets labeled in all kinds of ways. If you're new to this or just curious to understand the controversy, this video is for you. Let's get into it. Now, what's camping? In case if you're new to FPS games, I'll explain it in an efficient way to not make my video boring. So, camping in video games is a tactical decision where a player stays in a static position on a specific location, whether they stand in the very back to avoid being caught, or stay in a hidden spot for so long before other opponents have time to react. If you want more depth and details, I suggest you click the Wikipedia link in the description so you can learn more. Now, let's get into why camping is so controversial. Most of you have probably seen this before. Someone is playing the objective or trying to get kills, and then suddenly they get killed by another player who is hidden and barely moves. After that, the dead player gets angry and starts complaining, saying things like, "Oh my god, this person is a camper," or "Stop camping and start moving." This is one of the most common complaints in FPS games. It usually comes from players who prefer a fast, aggressive playstyle. To them, camping feels like a cheap, passive way to play. In many FPS communities, aggressive and high-action gameplay is seen as the normal way to play, but in reality, playstyles vary a lot depending on the player, and that's where the debate begins. Supporters, on the other hand, argue the opposite about camping. They believe it's a legitimate strategy and that critics are often reacting emotionally out of frustration, bias, or personal preferences rather than based on reality or objective reasoning. To many of these supporters, camping is also seen as a real-life military tactic where soldiers hold a position or defend an objective to keep enemies away. Because of that, they feel it doesn't make sense to complain about camping in games, especially since there are plenty of ways to counter it. If counters exist, they argue there is no reason to keep whining about it. This tactic has drawn a flood of both positive and negative opinions because of how controversial it is, especially since everyone sees it differently. While other FPS tactics also face criticism, none seem to be as hated as camping, mostly because it's a passive approach in a gaming culture that usually favors aggressive, fast-paced playstyles. Alright, let's get into the next part. What defines camping? Now, this is an important question to ask. Sure, some of you might say, well, it's obvious and easy to tell, but the truth is, it's not as simple as it seems. Camping is subjective, which means there isn't one correct definition that everyone agrees on. It's not something that has a single universal meaning. In fact, it can mean different things depending on a player's expectations, biases, and personal playstyle. Let me give you some examples. One person might say camping is staying at the back of the map and never move at all. Another might say it's sitting outside the objective area and just farming kills. And the third might define it as someone who only chases kills and a high KD ratio without helping the team or playing the objective. It's a lot like another subjective word, perfection. You see, perfection also has many meanings. There's no single way to define it. One person might say perfection means doing your absolute best and getting high scores. Another might say it means no flaws, no mistakes whatsoever. Just like with camping, there's no absolute definition of what perfection is because both are shaped by opinions, experiences, and emotions. Now, I'm not saying camping is only called out of frustration, but a lot of the time it's used based on how a player personally feels about what they're seeing rather than some official rule, especially in FPS communities where opinions on playstyles can really clash. What one person calls smart positioning, another might call it cowardly camping. No one knows the true meaning of camping. Now, another question to answer is this: is camping really bad in FPS games? Well, it's not that camping is inherently bad, it's more about how people feel when facing it. For example, it can be frustrating to deal with a player who hides in the back, waits, and avoids being seen. That kind of playstyle can make you constantly chase after them, which gets exhausting, or worse, you lose track of them and get killed again. So in the end, it depends on your personal preferences. If you enjoy the challenge of dealing with campers, or if you see camping as a part of a valid tactical playstyle, then it's probably not a big issue for you. But even if you do find it annoying, I don't think it's right to be toxic towards those players just to make them stop. It rarely works, and remember, FPS games are played globally, not just by one kind of player or one region. Some people camp because they're new to the game, others to defend an objective, or simply to stay hidden. There are many reasons. Alright, that's going to be the end of this video. If you learned something new or enjoyed it, feel free to like and subscribe. But if you don't want to, that's totally fine. Do whatever you think it's best. I really hope this helped improve your FPS knowledge and experience. Have a good day, evening, or night, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.